Hello and welcome back to Teach Truth with Save Our Generation. I hope you're all well and safe. Today's lesson is on race and racism. Before we get started, let's recap on last week's lesson, gender and gender inequalities. Gender refers to the attributes of women and men which is created in societies to determine how they should supposedly act. The sex of a person is determined through biology, and this is how doctors and parents know who is a boy and who is a girl. Even though gender can be stated at birth, it doesn't mean that people stick to the gender that they were given because it is not a fixed thing. This can change over time because how they were born does not necessarily match their gender identity. Some people choose to make physical and social changes to express their identity. This brief definition should help you to understand some of the things we will discuss today. Not to worry if you weren't there, you can always re-watch the lesson, which is available on our YouTube channel. You can also find the lesson on stereotyping, discrimination and prejudice, which is also very useful to help you further understand this lesson. Right, let's get learning. In regard to race, let's get our thinking caps on and have a go at answering these questions. Do you know what race is? Do you know how many races there are? And do you know what your own race is called? Race refers to the idea that people are grouped into categories based on qualities that are obvious to the human eye. Before the 17th century, race was used to define people who spoke the same languages. Today, race can be identified through biology, skin color, hair texture, facial features, and more. Some examples of race include black, white, Asian, and biracial or mixed race. Now that we've learned what race actually means, we will talk a little bit more about ethnicity. Ethnicity and race can be confused quite easily, so let's differentiate between the two. Ethnicity means that people can be grouped based on their language and other common qualities such as a shared culture or religion. Whilst they sound similar, here are the differences. Race is based on physical and biological traits, whereas ethnicity is based on cultural expression and place of origin. Race includes traits such as skin color, hair texture, facial features, and eye formation, and ethnicity includes people of the same ethnicity which may share language, history, religion, celebrations, or traditions. Race states that there are traits we are born with, and usually we share these with our families, whereas ethnicity are things that are often taught by families, communities, and make us feel a sense of belonging. The reason that there is a confusion is because they are similar and linked together. For example, someone can be black, which is their race, and British, which is their ethnicity, thus calling them Black British. Other examples of ethnicity are American, Irish, and so on. So, to sum this up simply, ethnicity is learned and race is inherited. Race is biological and ethnicity is something we take upon ourselves depending on where we live and cultures we share with others in our country or society. Over these sessions, we learnt the definitions to prejudice, stereotypes, and discrimination. If you can't remember, feel free to refer back to the first ever lesson. When talking about race, you often hear stereotypes such as black people are good at sports or Asian people are good at math. While these stereotypes are positive, they can also be harmful because the person may be pressured into living up to these expectations and may even be subject to bullying. The discussion of race today is very important because with race, comes racism. Racism is the mistreatment of someone because of their skin color, culture, or language. This can cause people to be segregated from society just because they are different. It is also racist to discriminate against someone if they've come from a different country. Black people face racism due to having a different skin color. Racism against Jewish people is called anti-Semitism. Muslim people are also victims of racism due to their religion, and this is called Islamophobia. These groups of people are attacked or bullied just because of their physical differences. They can even be bullied for the clothes they wear too. Here in the UK, racism is a crime, and anyone who is caught being racist or attacking someone for their race can be charged with a hate crime. In later lessons, we will talk about where racism comes from and the people who suffer this in more depth. Racial discrimination is unfair because it means that some people in society do not get opportunities such as jobs due to the colour of their skin. Systemic racism goes hand in hand with racial discrimination. It is also known as institutional racism and means that a society like the UK, where the majority is white, are automatically in positions of power. They make rules that benefit themselves whilst harming people of the Black, Asian and other races. Systemic racism leaves people of colour out and excludes them. It's like if you were in a park and just because you have darker skin, you wouldn't be able to play on one side of the park. Another example would be that if you were in a queue for ice cream, you'd always be last in the queue, even though you might have arrived first. Well, how can you fight racism? Make sure that you always challenge people who are being racist and tell them that it's wrong. Nobody should be made to feel small just because they are different. We are all human. Be sure to set an example, point it out and ask questions. Like the other topics we have learned, race is a very sensitive subject, so make sure to listen and understand when a person is speaking about their racial experience. Do not be afraid to do more research and explore these topics in depth. The famous Nelson Mandela said, "No one is born hating another person because of the colour of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate. If they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." He also said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." Well, I hope you're taking notes again. I know it's a lot of information to take in, but like I said last week, the brain is a wondrous thing. Don't forget to play the Kahoot game to test your knowledge. Well, what's next? Remember to be mindful of people's experiences. Always listen and be kind. And don't forget to like, share, follow and subscribe because there's more fun on the way. Before you go, don't forget to fill out the questionnaire, play the Kahoot game, and stay tuned for more to come. Links can be found in our bio. Well, thank you for tuning into these lessons the past few weeks. And we'd like to give a massive thank you to Leeds City Council for funding this project. Thank you to our viewers and listeners, our supporters, and the next generation to come. Love and respect. Stay well and stay safe from Save Our Generation UK.